We begin with that breaking news. A judge has dismissed federal corruption charges against Mayor Eric Adams with prejudice, which means they cannot be filed again. Adams was indicted back in September on charges of including accepting illegal campaign contributions and travel perks, among other things. The DOJ moved in to drop the case, saying it interfered with Adams' 2025 mayoral campaign and his ability to cooperate with President Trump's immigration crackdown. Political reporter Marcia Kramer here now to break all this down for us and what it means for the mayor.
Well, Chris, Eric Adams is free to run for mayor without the threat of going to jail or facing a politically damaging trial. And they seem to be channeling that freedom today and the basis of a political campaign at an early morning appearance at the National Action Network convention.
I don't know who you think I'm under the finger of, but I'm on the finger of Eric Adams, the mayor of the city of New York, and going to continue to do so.
Even before Eric Adams officially learned that a federal judge dropped his corruption case, Mayor Adams was making it clear that claims that the case was dropped because he was under the finger of President Trump were, in his mind, false. It's an argument that voters can expect to hear if, as expected, Mayor Adams seeks another term. And they'll hear this as well.
I'm the same person that made sure we put $17 billion in MWBs in the city, that invested in foster care children, that built more housing in year one and year two of our administration and history of this city.
In his ruling, federal Judge Dale Ho gave Adams a double victory. He not only dismissed bribery and corruption charges, the first criminal case against a New York City mayor in modern history, but he refused to allow the government the option of reinstating the case. A spokesperson for the Department of Justice said, quote, "This case was an example of political weaponization and a waste of resources. We are focusing on arresting and prosecuting terrorists while returning the Department of Justice to its core mission of keeping Americans safe." The mayor's lawyer, Alex Spiro, said, quote, "The case against Eric Adams should have never been brought in the first place. And finally today, that case is gone forever. From day one, the mayor has maintained his innocence, and now justice for Eric Adams and New Yorkers has prevailed." But the mayor's detractors were having a field day.
Either way, I think there's just tremendous damage that was done to this city because of an Adams administration. And so the quickest we can get away from this administration, I think the better for the city.
It's absolutely disgusting. You have a man that broke the law. We want to remind people that it wasn't just about flight upgrades. This is a man who illegally had a campaign donor scheme. And the fact that the judge unfortunately bowed to Trump is appalling.
Now, Mayor Adams is going to make the case he is not a Trump puppet, but his opponents won't let up. Comptroller Brad Lander saying, quote, "The ruling does not change the fact Eric Adams works for Donald Trump, not New Yorkers."
It's an easy pathway for them, that's for sure. So what is next for Adams?
Well, he has until midnight tomorrow to decide whether to file petitions and enter the Democratic primary. He said all along he wants to run as a Democrat, but he could also decide to run as an independent or a Republican.
As we talked about earlier, he's already starting to take shots at his potential future opponents already. So
yes, he has.
We'll see what happens here these next couple of hours. Marcia, thank you very much. Well, for more legal insights now, we're joined by attorney Donte Mills. Donte, good to have you with us.
Chris, good to have you.
We know today's ruling stops the DOJ from reinstating charges against the mayor. So what factors do you think Judge Ho considered in shutting the door on that possibility of revisiting this case?
There's really only one factor, and overall, this is not a good look for Mayor Eric Adams, although it is positive that he won't have to face these criminal charges anymore now or in the future. But what the judge had to decide, because he's the one that approves this withdrawal, he had to decide if he would allow it. He brought in an independent person who said, if you allow this withdrawal without prejudice, that means the case can be brought again. And if Mayor Adams is doing this at the bequest of, or was promised this at the bequest of Donald Trump in exchange for something, if he didn't follow through with that exchange, they could threaten to reinstate these charges. So what the judge said is, if I'm going to allow these charges to be dismissed, they have to be dismissed with prejudice. So there's nothing hanging over the mayor's head that he can be compelled to do something against his will, facing the threat of these charges coming back. So the judge agreed. He can't force the district attorney's office or the U.S. attorney's office to move forward with charges. But he said the only way I'll allow it is if you do it with prejudice. So there is nothing kind of hanging over his head, and there is no forcing him to do things politically so he won't be charged again.
It just seems so odd that the Department of Justice took such a vested interest in making sure that his ability to run for re-election wasn't impeded. So Judge Hogue took his time, in his opinion, to dispute a number of the claims from the DOJ. He writes that the dismissal of the indictment in exchange for policy concessions, quote, smacks of a bargain. How do you think the opinion is landing with the higher-ups involved at the DOJ now that they're hearing what the final decision has been rendered?
I don't think it matters. I mean, if we're being honest here, I don't think there's a question that there was something exchanged, right? The Trump administration came in and said, we're going to make these charges go away. And then you saw Mayor Adams doing things politically in regards to immigration and other things that would benefit the agenda of President Donald Trump. Now, we can't hide from that fact, but what you can say is the Department of Justice is now pointing and saying we want to prosecute terrorists and serious crimes, but this is a serious crime. And not only terrorists are prosecuted, other people who commit crimes are prosecuted as well. And we should make a point that nowhere in this did anyone suggest that Mayor Eric Adams did not do the things he was charged with. It simply says we wanted him to be able to maneuver as the mayor and move forward with Donald Trump's agenda. And that's why these charges were dismissed. Not because he was innocent, because that wasn't even addressed. It's just the fact that they wanted him in that political position for their benefit.
Yeah, Donte, very good point. Thank you, Donte. We appreciate it. Donte Mills. And stay with CBS News New York for complete coverage of the judge's decision in Mayor Adams' corruption case. Our team coverage will continue today, starting at 5 o'clock. You can also read the judge's order on our website, cbsnewyork.com. You'll also find a timeline of the events leading up to today and our previous reports.